So, my therapist asked me, are you healing or are you isolated with no triggers?
And I'm going to hold your hand when I say this. Give me your hand. Got it. You're going to have to sit this one out. You are too vulnerable and you are not yet healed enough. You're not ready to be dating nobody and you're not ready to make no new friends. The problem is you will heal a little bit, come out prematurely, and then you end up right back where you started. I know it gets lonely, it feels dark and gloomy, but I promise you, if you stick with it this time and stay consistent to the journey, to the process, when you come out the next time, you'll be ready. Don't let nobody pressure you to come out here too soon, because it ain't nothing out here, I promise you. I'm holding your hand and I'm saying it. You got a little bit more work to do, a little bit more healing to do, a little bit more maturing to do. You're not ready yet.
Hey, welcome to Let's Glow with Nini. I'm Nini, and let's get straight into this video.
So there's a video circulating and it says, are you healed or are you isolated with no one to trigger you? I think it's really important for us to understand that healing is a lifelong process. No one dies completely healed from every experience that they've ever had in their lives that traumatized them. And a lot of us are isolated because we are still healing and we are aware of that. But at the same time, we're also unfuckwittable. We're not interested in having ingenuous relationships. We're not interested in being around people who purposely try to provoke us or hurt us because they can't deal with their own damn demons. We understand that we don't need people's permission to live our lives the way that we want to. And we're not going to surround ourselves with demons just to prove that we can be around them. We're not interested in catering to other people's values who can't reciprocate that same energy to us. We believe in healthy connections, not having unhealthy connections because we can't be with ourselves. There's a difference.
Are you actually healed or are you just isolated with no one to trigger you? You know, I was asking myself that question not too long ago. Good morning, Rise and Shine. I was wondering, how can I possibly be healing if I'm not being triggered? So I've been walking around thinking, I am all healed. But am I? I'm just not being triggered because I'm fucking alone. When you don't have a partner to trigger you, you don't even know what needs to be healed. I've said this before, I really don't think that we're ever truly done healing. And you can read all the books that you want, I have, and I'm feeling so good and I am so ready for a healthy, loving, vibrant relationship. But I'm pretty sure I'm going to be triggered. And I bet your ass I have things I still need to work on, and I'm here for it. I think it's really important to have self-awareness and empathy. So if you can harness those two things, I think you too can have a healthy, loving relationship. I really can't wait till love finds us again, and this time I hope it decides to stay. Triggers, no triggers, just stick around for a minute. Something to ponder today. Are you healed, or is there just no one around to trigger you? Remember to keep shining that light out so bright. I love you.
So someone told me that healing doesn't happen in isolation, it happens in relationships. Disagree. When you invest time in working on yourself, that helps you heal. Because you don't have the distractions of other people around you, distracting you from your healing, distracting you from what you need to work on for yourself. On top of the fact that you only heal in relationships with other people who are already healed, or people that actually want you to heal and actively help you to heal. You can't heal, cope, and grow hopping from person to person to person. Baby, that just makes the situation worse, especially when you have nowhere to turn, no one that you can trust. People see that you're vulnerable, gullible, easy to manipulate, no boundaries because you're in this horrific situation, and you're super empathetic, so they're going to use their horrific trauma to manipulate you even further in this relationship that you shouldn't be in because you need to be by yourself in order to understand who to be around, since you don't actually have the support from a healthy relationship with someone, whether that's a friend, family member, coworker, therapist, psychologist, to actually help you understand what is and what isn't healthy for you. There's literally nothing wrong with being alone to heal, to get to know you, to figure out who you are, to remember who you are before you let all these raggedy people in your life. Especially since you didn't even know that they were raggedy. Or you knew that they were raggedy, but you just thought that you could make it work, and you also didn't want to be alone because you want to find the best in everybody. Now, a healthy, happy relationship of any kind with someone can help you heal if you're receptive to it and they truly have your best intentions at heart. But if you're just trusting people because you don't know where to go, you don't know where to turn, it's just going to make the situation worse. Bookie, I went through a murder and divorce and nobody supported me. And people actually literally encouraged me not to be by myself just so they could take further advantage of me. And that just contributing to me losing everything that I already did when I didn't have shit to lose in the first place. Because I let people convince me that I couldn't stand on my own. Meanwhile, I'm still here and they're not even in my life. A relationship will only help you heal if they want you to heal. And even if they do, you still need the time in isolation to know who you are when you are by yourself, so that you can be who you are no matter who is around. Even when you have the support of therapy, a loving family, loving friends, a good job that pays well, and a school that works with you still need to learn how to survive on your own. You still have to be able to heal on your own. Because you never know that one day you might wake up and you lose all that, and the only person that's going to be able to carry you is you. Everyone preaches a sense of community, but no one talks about what you do when the community's either destroyed or was never there in the first place. And all you've ever had is you with nowhere to turn. The most crucial parts of healing happen in isolation. And when you constantly leave yourself open to people and you don't take that time, you're not allotted that time, or you're not allowed to take that time just because of life in general, your growth is stunted. That doesn't mean that you can't be a good person, but your growth is being stunted. We all need time to ourselves with ourselves to figure ourselves out. Because if entering relationships with people, friends, family, coworkers, romantic, whatever, was the fix, a lot of us wouldn't have the trauma we had today. Because a lot of us haven't known how to not get into something with somebody. So stay by yourself and focus on yourself until you're ready.
You know, months ago, I asked myself the question, are you healed or are you just isolated with no one to trigger you? And I think the honest answer is that where I'm at currently in life is it's a little bit of both. Yes, I've done a lot to just enjoy my own company. And this is over the years, right? Like to enjoy my own company. And when we talk about this concept of healing, for me, healing has a lot to do with me learning to be okay with parts of who I am and learning what parts of me need development and improvement, but in a way too that it's independent of vices. So I'm doing this without the drinking, without the sex, without, the overspending, without any of the short-term means to distract or satisfy myself. And also, no shade to anyone who's doing those things, because I feel like people cope the way that they cope until they learn healthier replacements for those things. And so for me, it's been a lot of learning to sit with the stillness and the silence and to learn how to rest and to really retrain my mind about what I view to mean success, what I view to mean productivity, all of those things. And so I feel good where I'm at in that regard. Like I've accepted the boredom that comes sometimes with peace, the opposition to the chaos and the intensity that was super frequent in a lot of our lives. Like I've grown okay with that, but I also recognize that intimate relationships serve as mirrors. And so when we talk about the fact that no matter how clearly you believe you see yourself, everyone else doesn't have the same eyes as you. And so when you are in a relationship, sometimes you are just challenged with someone else's visibility of you, because people's perception is people's perception. And so you can't always just tell people that they're wrong about you, even if it's not what you believe to be true about yourself. And so sometimes what I fear is areas that I feel I'm progressed in, and then getting with someone and it being exposed that I'm not as healed as I thought I was. And it's back to the drawing board, because not only am I now affected by something that I thought I had moved past, but I have to consider another person and how they're also being affected by these things. And sometimes I don't know if I'm ready for that.
I kind of can't breathe. I just seen a video that said, are you healed or are you isolated with no one around you to trigger you?
So I was on my healing journey for a long time, and I was single and celibate at the same time, right? So once I started getting back into the dating world, I'm like, am I healed or am I just been by myself for so long? But I know I'm healed because I'm not who I used to be. Last year, 2 or 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I have sat down with myself and analyzed myself, and I have wrote down. I got notebooks full of stuff that I like about myself and the stuff that I need to change. Because when people say they've been healed, I always ask, how do you know you're healed? Why you say you healed? What did you do while you was on your healing journey? Because you have some people that say they healed because they just heard everybody else on the internet saying it, so they just be repeating it. Or they'll say it for ulterior motives. What I did was I sat with myself and I looked back over the years. I thought about all the arguments I got into it with people, all the things that my loved ones said about me, just altercations that I had with people that I loved in relationships, and I try to break it down, try to see their point of view. Even though I noticed 90% of it, they was gaslighting me though. But some of that was on me, and I had to change that. I have to figure out what made me mad, what really pissed me off, what are the things that I love, what brings me peace, what do I need to do to be a better friend, what a better girlfriend. Try to really get down to the gritty, nitty gritty of things on why I'm here. What is my purpose of living? Why am I here? And what are the things that I'm going to tolerate? What are my boundaries? Y'all, I like isolated myself from everybody, like missing phone calls, not calling people back, just focusing on me. I had a season of years of just focusing on myself, being selfish, worried about me. And sometimes you just have to do that. It's not a bad thing. So when I got back out there and I was ready to date, I was like, man, I've been by myself so long. Am I really healed? And it seemed like the universe was seeing you the worst people just to test you. It's like, this is a test and I have to pass because something's bigger and better is in store for me. I know it is. But I know I'm healed because people can't get to me like they used to. Things that used to trigger me don't trigger me anymore. The way I respond to things is different now. Now, mind you, I'm not perfect. I do fall short sometimes if I feel like I'm disrespected. But I'm healed to a point where I know if I failed or I did something wrong, I can sit down and analyze myself and say, you know what? I didn't do too good today. I could have handled that better. And that's how I know I'm healed, and that's how I know I done came a long way because I'm not who I used to be. So when y'all telling people y'all healed, are y'all really healed? Or have y'all been in isolation so long nobody has tested you yet?
If you live alone and you do not have a partner or are in a romantic relationship with somebody and you do not have children living at home with you or anyone living at home with you rubbing up against you every day, and you come to me and tell me that you are healed and you have healed all of your stuff, your anxious attachment style, your CPTSD, all of your trauma wounds and stuff, then I'm going to look at you and say, bullshit. You ain't healed. You're isolated. You will not know if you are healed until you get into another romantic relationship or until you have people living with you full time, especially children who are pushing your buttons all the time. That's like walking around and saying like, oh my God, I never get bit by a mosquito ever. I'm so on top of that shit. I have figured it out. I don't ever get bit by a mosquito. Bitch, you don't ever go outside. That's why you don't get bit by a mosquito. Please don't walk around touting that you are healed from everything when you don't have anybody rubbing against you. When you get to go home every night by yourself, be alone, have time to regulate your nervous system, have time to do your meditation and yoga, and have nobody conflicting with you. You can tell me you're healed when you have a partner living with you and you got kids running around testing your patience constantly and you still remain regulated, calm, happy, peaceful. You can tell me you're healed then. Yeah. Otherwise, you're just isolated and it's bullshit. That's some toxic optimism or some toxic self-righteousness. I don't know, but you're not healed. You're isolated.
I just watched that video where that girl said, are you healed or are you just isolated so you have no one to trigger you? And for me, in my most recent personal experience, I realized that I was definitely further along on my healing journey than I used to be when I went to that train station and I asked that lady a question and I didn't know the number of my car that I was riding in. That's why she called me out of my name. She said, what train number are you on? I said, I don't know. And she gave me a look. And I said, Bernice, I don't know. I don't work here. I just got the ticket. If you could help me and show me what I need to do, that'd be great. She was actually just the greeter, because then she said, go over to the ticket window. And when I went to the ticket window, she said, bitch. And I turned to her and I said, Bernice, if you're having a bad day, I didn't mean to add to your bad day by asking you information. Aren't you here to give information? You work here. I don't work here. And then I turned to the lady in the window, and the lady in the window was chipper. She said, don't worry about it. I said, I'm not really worried about it. That didn't bother me. So she gave me my information and blah, 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 blah. And before I could leave to go to the train, I told Bernice, can I give you a hug? And she just stood there and I hugged her and I felt her body go limp. in my arms, and I told her in her ear, and I said, it's going to be okay. And then she said, well, did you have lunch? That was a huge key indicator of me being farther along in my healing journey than I have been before. And let me tell you why I was not triggered. Number one, I know that I'm not what she called me. Number two, I don't take things personal anymore because I know that people are going through things and they project or they try. And all I'm doing is I'm saying, no, you keep your shit with you and I'll be all right over here. We have to learn not to absorb other people's bad behavior. No, I'm not going to be trying to correct you all yaka. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be calm and I'm going to tell you that you don't talk to me like that. You don't disrespect me, and I'll move on. Oftentimes people do things because they're in a bad mood, in a bad way, and they are looking for a fight. I don't have time, desire, or energy to fight people. I'm out here trying to live an abundant life. I ain't got time for that. My vibration is too high to be bringing it down for anybody else. I'm always cognizant of that. Not that I'm going to get somebody back. I want my vibration to be high because I got manifestations and I got things that I need to meet. And if I'm bringing it down for people, I'm going to miss what I have in store for me. What we have in store for us is on a high vibration, and we have to stay up there. And if you're on those low vibrations, fooling with folks, you ain't going to get what you're trying to get. You're going to be wondering, why I'm not? Because raise your vibration and keep it high. A huge part of healing is learning that everything is energetic. And we are not responsible for how people treat us, but we are responsible for how we respond. And what I'm not about to do is give people a fight. You're going to be fighting by yourself. I ain't got time for it.
A while ago, I said that isolation is self-sabotage. And a lot of people came at me, no, isolation is healing. Isolation. And I just want you guys to know there's a difference. Because what you're describing to me is alone time. Social isolation is a very different thing, and there's a very thick line. It's not thin at all. It's actually very thick, but you guys don't know the difference, so let me help you. Alone time is intentional. Alone time is something that you do with the intention of recharging, recalibrating, resetting. It's an intentional time that you set that has a purpose and an end time. Okay. Social isolation, on the other hand, though, that is not intentional. You know why? Because there's generally not an end time to it. You just do it until you feel safe. And when you do things that you think will make you feel safe, it's often a coping mechanism to deal with your loss, your grief, your trauma, your anger, whatever it is. But you're doing it because you think it will make you feel better. But the thing about thinking about what makes you feel is that you're not actually feeling, you're thinking. And if you actually took the time alone to feel your actual feelings, you wouldn't have to think so much about it. And I know y'all gonna get mad at me, but you know what? I'm not here to make you feel happy dandy all the time, but I am here to help you grow and to help you realize that oftentimes we set ourselves up for failure. And I just want to see you be great, because I wouldn't be Mother Greatness if I wasn't birthing great people out here in this life. Okay? Love you, bye.
Self-isolation is actually a trauma response. When you're upset, you just shut down and you avoid everything, and your excuse is, oh, I just like being alone. No. And in fact, it's the complete opposite. You actually don't like being alone. But rather, as a kid, you were left to deal with your emotions on your own, so that's all you know to do. Whether that be you were put in timeout, or, you were sent to your room, or whenever you felt or acted out emotionally, you were left to deal with that shit on your own. You weren't taught how to express your emotions, or at least how to regulate them. Not only do you not know how to express your emotions, you also don't trust people, so you don't let people in to help you out emotionally, because it really doesn't have to all be on you. This manifests in your adult life is, you're very hyper independent and you don't open up to people that much. You're very guarded and all you want is to be heard and understood, but, you usually don't let people get that close to even do that. And just know that you are not a burden, nor are you bothering somebody by asking for their help or by venting to them. And I myself am still working on this as well. And, I'm a lot better with opening up to people and being vulnerable, but I do still find myself almost apologizing and feeling like, I'm oversharing or people don't care or whatever. And that's far from the truth. The right person will reassure you and make you feel like, you're not being too much, because you aren't. Don't invalidate your feelings because you think that other people may think you're too much, or you're overreacting, or you're being stupid, or you're not reacting properly, or whatever the fuck that means. Like, as if there's a proper way to react. No, however you react is completely valid. We all have our own love languages, and we all have our own needs, especially emotionally, and it's not on you to completely fulfill them on your own. Granted, you shouldn't fully rely on other people either to fulfill them. I find it so funny that these boomers and, the older generations of people want to basically mock the younger generations that they're doing gentle parenting. But you know what? At least they're raising a generation of people who are, emotionally aware as well as emotionally intelligent, which with the massive fucking mental health issues that we have, we need that. You need a hug or you need someone to talk to, just ask for it, all right? You deserve it. And also, if you do something wrong, don't run away from it and hope it goes away. If you feel a certain way, whether it's good or bad, just sit with it and don't be afraid to ask for help. Never forget that an emotion is literally energy in motion. So you're not meant to bottle them up or just brush them off. You're meant to feel them and let them out. And that is not something that you should have to handle on your own. And I'll end off with this because I know I touched on the thing with the older generations. Do not blame the older generations. They did the best with what they knew, okay? But be that change that you want to see and be the person that you needed when you were little.
If you're somebody that wants to start their healing journey and you want to start going to therapy consistently, please watch this video. If you are the only person around you taking that step, you will feel alone. You are likely to feel isolated. And that's because you have become so self-aware that not only are you aware of self, you're aware of other people too. Things that you unintentionally looked over prior to your healing journey, you cannot look over that. Your mind will not allow you to, because now you're wanting things to be better. You're wanting to be greater. You want things to function a certain way because that's what aligns with you now that you are healing. You're going to notice a lot of things about yourself that you don't really care for, that you don't like, that you want to change, that you want to fix, and that's perfectly fine. But you're also going to notice that about other people. There's a certain point that you get to with your own healing to where you can almost see through other people like they're invisible. You can see that they're not healed and you can see their trauma. And the thing is, it does not make those people bad people. It does not mean that you cannot have relationships with them. You are just more aware of that. And your feelings toward that might be different post-healing rather than what it was pre-healing. And with some of these people, you might cut them off. You might go your own way, or you might spend less time with them, or you might realize that this is a person that needs more grace and understanding. Everybody that isn't healed or that has trauma is not a bad person. You have people that are unhealed that are great people, and they make an effort every single day to be a better person. And the thing is, nobody's ever fully healed. It's a journey. Healing never stops. But being unhealed looks differently on everybody. You have people that are unhealed that make everybody else's life a living hell. You have people that are unhealed and that are positive and try to make every day a good day. You have people who actually do try to work on everything, and they're unpacking stuff and they go through the works, because healing is not easy. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, healing is hard as hell. Most of us do have trauma. Most of us have things that will never ever go away. We just learn how to live with it. But you have to understand that when you start healing, you see all of that. You, including everybody else, almost becomes glass. You see everything. But the thing is, you can only work on you. You can only change you. You can only do things for yourself. I'm not telling you to cut off all of these people around you when you start to heal. What I'm telling you is that some people will get cut off. Some people will get less of you. Some people will get a different version of you. Some people won't like you. You might still want to have a relationship with somebody. Some people might not want to have no relationship with you. You might realize that yourself or other people just need a little more TLC. Anything can happen. And I'm just here to let you know to be prepared for that when you start to heal.
I really want to be honest about healing. In 2022, I had a best friend that I had had for years. I had a first love, a love I had never experienced in my 30 plus years of living. And I had rekindled within the last few years before then a beautiful relationship with my father. And in 2022, all of that was stripped away. And that was my hardest year. And I was just wondering, like, God, what is happening? It kind of forced me into this healing season where God kind of rid me of every distraction, of every anchor, of every person with ill intention. I was left alone. And at that point, I was so completely hurt, like shattered, heartbroken, that the only person who can carry the weight of my pain was God. In this journey, I've realized that nobody has ever did anything to me that I did not allow. And so when I think back on things that people have done to me, it would have been better if they had given me a contract stating exactly what they want to do, give me a pen and I signed it. I approved. I approved of the abuse. I approved of the mistreatment. I approved on all of it and allowed it into my life. But here's the fun part. If I can sign it and say I approve and I agree, I have the power to disagree. Now I have the power to say, I don't approve of that. No, I don't want that. No, that's not what I want for my life. No, you can't do this. No, you can't do that. That's when the shift happens. And healing means I can't see you without seeing me. We're always so focused on what people did to us. We're always talking about they did this and they did that and they hurt me. But what did you allow? And honestly, you have probably been hurting yourself long before you met that person. Because in this time, I've had to hold myself accountable to a lot of things. You've never taken the time to stop and sit with your shit is what I call it. Like I sit with my whys. God, why did I know that I attract a lot of people, but why did I allow this particular type of person into my life? Why did I think that it was okay to make my heart a revolving door, not just for a relationship, but for friendships, for my fathers to keep coming in and out, in and out. Why did I say that was okay? Sitting with all of my whys forced me to see me. And I love the way that God does it, because the world is already trying to condemn you and tell you what you're not. One thing that I've realized that God does along this journey of healing and growth and transformation is that he tells you who you are. He tells you who he called you to be. So the world is constantly trying to say, you're not this, and you're not good enough, you're not that. And God is like, actually, you're more than enough. Actually, you're greater than that. You're bigger than that. You have all of this compassion. You have this gift. The way that God gets on you is by showing you the power of what you really have and who you really are and how you are limiting yourself in this small arena. I love that part. I love that part. But it takes for you to be isolated because we get easily distracted by society. We get easily distracted by friends. And if God wants to say something to you, he needs your undivided attention. He needs you to be able to understand and know his voice over your own insecurities, over the world's, over your friends, over your family. So that isolation season is when you learn to listen to your soul speak and you learn to listen to God. And that is when the true transformation begins. And then there is this season where you're like this in between. The hardest part about the healing is that in between season where you're not who you used to be, but you're not exactly where you're going to be. It's that process, that foundation work, that building, that chrysalis process where you're in this cocoon and you're ridding yourself of all of the things that's no longer going to serve you into your next season, while also allowing God to build the new. That is a very interesting part of life, of growing, of healing. And it's not even just about healing. It's really about life, because I don't want us to get so focused on the fact that we have to heal from things without realizing that every negative is a positive undiscovered. Every situation happens as an opportunity for you to learn something that's going to be used as a tool in another season of your life. So if you are on this path of growth and healing and transformation, I just want to encourage you to keep going, because the truth of the matter is you can't go back to what you used to be or who you used to be. You can't go backwards because you've outgrown that space. You can't stay where you are because you know that there's something so much bigger and so much greater. So keep going, and I hope that this video encourages, inspires, sparks something in yourself that makes you realize you're meant for more, you're meant for greater, and that everything that happened to you is going to be used for your good. We just have to stop seeing the hurt in it and see the lessons from it.